Mini episode 1193 of the FDH Lounge is brought to you by Sportsology, delivering unconventional columns and webcasts about sports, TV, music, movies, and more. Follow them on the web at sportsology.com.
The FDH Lounge. You'll want to schedule your life around it.
A long time ago, on a gloomy, wet Cleveland spring night, two men stand alone amidst the late-night drizzle. Their voices echo across the vacant station parking lot as they debate the merits of the great American radio show that have been missing for far too long. On that night, an idea was born. That idea became the FDH Lounge. Welcome to the FDH Lounge.
Hello and welcome to FDH Lounge mini episode 1193. I'm FDH Managing Partner Rick Morris here with our Super Bowl 54 preview. Before we begin, a reminder that at the FDH Lounge multimedia magazine at the fdhlounge.blogspot.com, we have up our ultimate quantitative baseline UQB statistic. It simply adds together the ranking of 13 different indexes through the end of the regular season. The FDH Power Rankings, strength of schedule based on our power rankings, a metric that combines the power rankings with impressiveness of victories based on strength of schedule, offensive yards gained, offensive passing yards, offensive rushing yards, defensive yards allowed, defensive passing yards, defensive rushing yards, DVOA, offensive DVOA, defensive DVOA, and special teams DVOA. It's a great guide to help you assess how these teams measure up. In our season-ending power rankings, San Fran is 3rd, KC is 4th. In the UQB, San Fran is 1st, KC is 5th. In strength of schedule, San Fran is 11th, KC is 25th. In impressiveness of victories by schedule, San Fran is 1st, KC is 10th. In DVOA, San Fran is 5th, KC is 2nd. In offensive DVOA, San Fran is 7th, KC is 3rd. In offensive yards, San Fran is 4th, KC is 6th. In offensive passing yards, San Fran is 13th, KC is 5th. In offensive rushing yards, San Fran is 2nd, KC is 23rd. In defensive DVOA, San Fran is 2nd, KC is 14th. In defensive yards, San Fran is 2nd, KC is 17th. In defensive passing yards, San Fran is 1st, KC is 8th. In defensive rushing yards, San Fran is 17th, KC is 26th. In special teams DVOA, San Fran is 12th, KC is 2nd. Let's look at the common opponents. There were two. Baltimore, KC won 33-28 and San Fran lost 20-17. And Minnesota, KC won 26-23 and San Fran won 27-10. In terms of matchups, there are two very interesting notes pointing in opposite directions. At NextGen Stats pointed out on Twitter that San Francisco runs out of the I formation more than any team in football, while no team is more unsuccessful at stopping runs out of the I formation than Kansas City. However, ESPN's Matt Bowen pointed out on Twitter that Patrick Mahomes is even more sensational than usual against the zone, while the Niners are the team that used the zone second most in the league this season. For all the talk about the Chiefs' greatly improved defense in the second half of the season, their opponents were a whopping 16 of 31 on fourth down conversions throughout the year. It's easy to see the Niners extending some crucial drives this way during the game. That ties into time of possession, where San Francisco unsurprisingly has an edge of over 2 minutes per game, 31-37 to 29-27. Now, that doesn't have to be the case in this game because, as we covered, the 49ers' softer spot defensively was against the run, where they are middle of the pack. And Damian Williams averaged 4.5 yards per carry this year, with LaShawn McCoy at 4.6. So KC could mitigate against the Niners' efforts to dominate time of possession if they commit to the run more than usual. They were 23rd in rushing yards by choice rather than by necessity, but against the most well-rounded team in the league, they can't afford to be one-dimensional here. Think back to Super Bowl 19 when the Niners faced off against the Mahomes of his day, Dan Marino. Granted, those Dolphins didn't have the option of rushing much heavier, but the one-dimensional nature of their game sunk them. As such, in what looks like a remarkably tight game here, the balance of power seems to lie in the hands of Andy Reid. And he hasn't been a great big game coach previously, so we don't look for the necessary adjustment. We look for the Chiefs to go about it in their usual way and come up just short, 27-24, in a game that hits for the dog, the under, and Jimmy G as MVP. Thank you for joining us for this mini episode of the FDH Lounge.